Hello, peeps. It's a hillbilly Harford. How are you today? What a lovely morning today. So, what we're going to talk about today is Tim Farron sticking up for agriculture in the House of Commons. Then we're going to go through a few figures of how much money we're actually spending to show how basically all MPs have got us into a financial situation. And then we're going to go through a letter that's been written by somebody. Well, not a letter. It's a piece that's been written by an accountant firm about the new changes coming into farming, death duties, and that sort of thing. Uh, Pretty scary stuff what he says in that, I gotta say. And like I said in my previous videos, I did warn people of this before they voted Labour in. But anyway, let's get on with it. Come on. I have to read this because, as you know, YouTube and they're always on my back trying to censor me and my people commenting. The content in this video is intended for comedic purposes only. The views expressed in this video are not to be taken as factual information or representation of my personal beliefs. I'm critically reviewing the info and videos I show as examples. Now, at the moment, we have got the best farmers in the world. I think we do the best job in the world. We look after the animals more than anybody in the world. It's more environmentally friendly. All the farmers just want to feed everybody, and instead of listening to the farming community about farming and where we need to go, we're listening to people like this, academic people with a chip on their shoulder who hate farmers. That's what's happening in the UK, and it makes me mad. Everybody's afraid to say anything unless they get piled on by everybody. To me, this guy is a leader of a new religious cult of nut zero. And he's got no more qualifications than you or me. He had to apologize years ago for what he lied about in the anti-nuclear movement, and he's doing the same again. So let's hear what Tim Farron has to say.
Cultural policy minted by the previous Conservative government, and for the time being at least still maintained by this Labour government, which this is the maddest thing I've heard myself say in this place, and I've said some mad things. An agricultural policy that is based on disincentivising the production of food. Can we believe that is literally the case? A policy created by that party, for the time being, maintained at least by the party now currently in power. And the consequence of this is that we will only have, 55% of the food that we eat in this country is produced in this country. Talking to Adam Day, who is from the Cumbrian Farmers Network, is reported in the Farmers Guardian. These are absolutely legitimate figures. We have a year-on-year reduction in the number of sheep in this country of 4.2%. I tell you what, Madam Deputy Speaker, if you destock the fells of animals, you soon after destock the countryside of human beings. If we're losing farms and losing farmers, on which we are as we speak, then not only are we losing our ability to feed ourselves as a country, we're undermining our ability to deliver for the environment. Let's not fall into the mistake, the mistake of thinking this is a debate between caring for the environment and producing food. We either do them both or we don't do them at all. 70% of Britain's land mass, England's land mass, is agriculturally greater across the UK as a whole, is agricultural. If we think we're tackling the climate or nature crises without farmers, we are kidding ourselves. The greenest policies in the world will be just bits of paper in a drawer if we don't have the farmers on the ground to put them into practice.
Brilliant. He's my new farming hero. And that's for everybody who says sometimes I'm biased against some parties and the other. I'm not. I just like good MPs. This bloke was hounded out of being the leader of the Liberal Democrats because of his religious beliefs. That's it. He's a really nice guy. I remember when he was the leader, I don't think he ever said anything wrong, in my opinion. They just hounded him out. He sticks up for farming in a fantastic way. And here we are. There's me sticking up for a Liberal Democrat. There we go. Hey, I'll do another one on this chap because he did a really good video saying about how rented farmers are being chucked off their farms. It was fantastic the way he said about it. And he's a bit of a wordsmith, different to me, because I just say things as they are. So Tim Farron, thumbs up from me. Well done, good fella. Now, what we're going to do next before we talk this letter, I'm just going to go through some figures to show you how much money the government is spending and burning, and then they're saying we're in some black hole for just 20 billion. So here we go. So this is the government spending in the United Kingdom, 23 to 24. It's all signed off. Total revenue is 1,058 billion. Total expenditure, 1,189 billion. So there we are. That's the figures we're talking about. That is the figures we are talking about. Deficit is 1.31 billion. So that's what they're spending more than they make. And the gross domestic product is 2,650 billion. And they're spouting all this stuff on the media, 20 billion black hole. Look at that, people. Look at it. Look at the amount of billions they are spending. It's all a sham, made up nonsense. They spend all this stuff during COVID and nut zero. They reckon they're going to spend £1 trillion on nut zero. So for the financial, let's go down a bit further. The UK government has spent more than it has raised in taxation since the financial year 2001-2002, creating a budget deficit and leading to the growing debt interest payments. Average government spending per person is higher in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland than it is in England. In financial year 21-22, spending per head in England was £15,200. Scotland, it was £17,700. In Wales, it was £16,900. In Northern Ireland, it was £17,500. So there we are. That's what they're spending. But they're spending it on nonsense, on this nut zero nonsense. So you see that pie chart there? I'll go over to that now. Public sector spending in the financial year. Look at the top. The debt interest and all the money that they've been spaffing away on nut zero and all this blooming COVID. 116 billion debt interest. It's the people who are running this place have got us into this mess, not the people who are doing the jobs, the working class. Look at the bottom left there. Industry, agriculture and employment. 50 billion is all they spend on that. So it's 4% of all the money they spaff everywhere. And it doesn't even show how much they're spending on the climate here. Sorry, I said that word. It doesn't even show. Defense is 68 billion. Education is 131 billion. And debt interest is nearly up to all we spend on that. Health is 245 billion, as you'd expect. Social protection, God only knows what the hell that is. Maybe police or something, I don't know. I think public order is police. But there is a lot of nut zero spending hidden in here, in the debt interest. So remember these figures now. So industry, agriculture and employment, 50 billion. 4% of the total spending. So the people that feed you are only getting 4% of what is being spent in the UK. And the debt interest is 10%. So I did this the other day. I have to go through these figures to show you what I'm on about after when reading this letter. So if you look at the bottom, this was from the Compass department that created new contracts for migration, the boat people, basically looking after them. So it's supposed to be 4 billion over 10 years from 2019 to 2029. It ended up being 4.7 billion in 2024 alone, as you'll see here. So March 2024, the Home Office expects to spend 4.7 billion on asylum support, including 3.1 billion on hotels. That comes from their own report. So 4.7 billion just on migrants, okay? The illegals. So remember all them figures now when I go through this. So fears of capital gains tax rise pushing farmers towards the exit. Now this is what I said. I said before the election, I told you so before the election. I'm no brain boffin, but I could see it coming. So speculation continues to grow as the autumn budget, which will include major tax reforms, which could destroy farming. Well, it will. 1 in 10 farmers could abandon the industry due to growing concerns about tax rises and subsidy cuts, according to a rural accountant. The warning has been made ahead of the government's autumn budget as the industry awaits a potential rise in capital gains tax against the backdrop of reduced subsidies. This, according to Duncan and Topless, could put the future of British agriculture at risk, with around 10% of its farmers' client base thinking of quitting altogether if the landscape doesn't improve. Mark Chatterton, head of agriculture of the accountancy firm, said many farmers were considering selling their land, gifting it to the next generation, or contracting out to bigger businesses. And as farmers grapple with economic uncertainty, shrinking financial support, and 2 successive poor harvests, he warned that the industry simply can't survive without urgent investment. This autumn's budget could deliver a devastating blow if capital gains tax is hiked as expected, Mr. Chatterton added. Farmers are already struggling after poor harvests and diminishing subsidies. Another financial hit may push many out of the industry for good. The NFU recently revealed that confidence in the sector is at its lowest since the records began, and DEFRA itself has warned that nearly half of farmers fear the future. The Sustainable Farming Incentive, SFI, which is replacing the dwindling BPS, is seen as the last lifeline for many farmers, but even that is only guaranteed for 3 more years. But without urgent investment, Mr. Charlton warned that the UK could see a collapse in the agricultural production. The new government has vocally affirmed that the UK's agricultural sector as a matter of the utmost national security, and I couldn't agree more, he added. I'd urge the government to apply firm and consistent support for the sector when it needs it most. Duncan and Topless said it was seeing an increasing number of farming businesses in the Midlands, where the firm is based, taking stock of their options. Those without clear succession plans were considering seizing the opportunity to capitalise on the historical high land prices before it's too late. This makes sense to a degree, as waiting could prove a costly mistake if the autumn budget diminishes financial prospects further. But what could this mean as a whole for the sector, Mr. Chatterton said? It comes as speculation grows that the year's autumn budget will include major tax reforms, with capital gains tax possibly rising to 45% and changes to inheritance tax expected to bring more farmers into its scope. Although the government has promised new measures to boost confidence in agriculture, has yet to provide clear timelines. Mr. Chatterton included that farmers were hoping the autumn budget would turn these promises into reality, one with clear and decisive deadlines and deliverables. He said, as the nation braces for impending tax reforms, the agricultural sector faces an uncertain future. Without decisive action, the consequences could be devastating for both farmers and consumers. It comes as the government was told to put its money where its mouth is on sustainable farming by increasing the agriculture budget to $3.8 billion a year. Bolstering the farming budget was key to kickstarting long-term growth in the rural economy. The Country Land and Business Association argued last week. Increasing the budget from $2.4 billion to $3.8 billion a year by 27-28 would also deliver on many of the government's environmental targets, the body said. Well, here we are. Look at the money there. Increasing the budget from $2.4 billion to $3.8 billion. So to feed all the population of the UK, they're only spending £2.4 billion. And in 2023 to 2024, they spent $4.7 billion just on migrants. That's what's going wrong with the UK. That is what is going wrong with the UK. We're looking after other people instead of our own. Spaffing it away on stuff that nobody wants to be spaffed on. And let's look at it again. Starmer said last week or the week before they were going to spend 10 billion on carbon capture. 2.4 billion they're spending on farming, feeding everybody. Best farmers in the world. Farming industry is in ashes, in tatters, and they're spaffing 10 billion onto something that does nothing. Even the guy who's in charge of the project said it's testing. Really? Another one again. David Miliband, 2 weeks ago, said they're giving 10 billion. 10 billion to overseas climate change. 10 billion. And they're only spending 2.4 billion on the agricultural sector in the UK. Get that into your head. This is how stupid this all is. 20 billion deficit when we're spending thousands and thousands of billions on nonsense. All these people have racked up all this interest, spend it on nut zero. It's going to be $1 trillion by the end of it all. We haven't got the money. We're spending all this stuff on trash. All these MPs from both of the main parties are just wasters. And they're there, they have no idea what they're doing. We got good MPs like Tim Farron there who can see what's happening. There's good MPs in all parties. Certain people can see what's happening, but because we've got this weird situation in the UK where we're basically being run from other countries, we all know that, been told what to do. There we are. So that's a video for today. I've gone on for a bit, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in to the Hillbilly Harford, and click that subscribe button. And I noticed one of my favorite YouTubers, farming YouTubers, commented on one of my videos, and thank you very much for doing that, mate. It means a lot. Really love your channel. You're one of the best arable farms I've seen, and you know more than most know about growing anything. So all the best, Gaz.